Well, hello everyone. I hope you are having a wonderful weekend and welcome to week 7 of EdTech 2. This is one of my favorite weeks in EdTech because it's the week that we talk about the flipped classroom, which is one of my favorite things to do, and something very similar to online classes where we are giving you the lesson or having conversations with you through the internet, and you are able to work on things at your own at home. So anyways, when I first started teaching as a professor for Concordia and doing the online programs, that was when I actually got the idea to do the flipped classroom. And it was before I even knew about the flipped classroom. I had heard of it, but I hadn't tried it. And what had happened is that I had to be out one day unexpectedly. And so I had been making videos for my students at Concordia, and I thought, I'm just going to make a lesson tonight of my lecture for tomorrow so that the sub can facilitate, but they don't have to worry about lecturing, and then see how my kids like that. And so I did. And the sub is actually a good friend of mine, and he called me the next day and he said it was so funny. He's like, your video came on, and he goes, and they were all just kind of like, oh, the teacher's not here, la, 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 la. They weren't being bad, but they weren't being 100% focused. And he said that as soon as they heard my voice in the room, everybody just kind of went and started watching the screen and like were nodding their heads like I was with them, and got to work. Oh, Opal's playing with her ball behind me, so you're going to hear some squeaks every now and then. And they really, really loved it. And so I started studying more about the flipped classroom and deciding that I really wanted to use the flipped classroom to bring technology in. Now, the only problem with the flipped classroom, as you know, is equity, and that can be a problem. If a student doesn't have a computer or a computer that can really access YouTube video feed, or if they have data limitations on their phones, their parents, only let them allow so much, that can be difficult doing a flipped classroom activity where you're expecting them to go home in the evening, listen to your lecture, prepare for activities the next day, maybe have their parents or siblings involved in this lecture and this conversation. So I always suggest that if you are doing the flipped classroom, it's probably best, unless you absolutely know that all of your students, have equity in their technology at home or some type of access through an after-school computer lab or Chromebooks in the classroom or some way to access that technology, that you give them a little bit of time when you're doing the flipped classroom. So that way, if a student does have to go to after-school tutoring or the library to be able to access the technology to do the flipped classroom lesson, then they're not being left out of the loop. But basically, the flipped classroom is exactly what it says. You give the lecture, you give the lesson through the internet, usually the night before or a few days before, preparing the students with the information so that when they come back to class, you're working hands-on with them on the activities related to the lecture. And in the past, we've always lectured and then given students homework. And the problem with that is that, we're not there to really navigate them through if something goes terribly wrong. And also, we're seeing now with brain-based research, and when you guys do the brain-based research class, or if you have already, then you know that Fisher and Frey have homework is actually a really low percentage of student achievement. And not that we can't give homework, but it doesn't pack as much punch as we originally thought. So the idea of doing your lecture at home and then having this homework or these activities in the class, make it so that you're there to facilitate the learning instead of correcting the learning after it's already gone awry. So I think you'll really enjoy the flipped classroom. And the assignment for making the videos is quite simple and very easy to do. And if you haven't made videos before, it's actually fun. And a lot of you have, because you embedded videos on your website of you talking to your students or talking to me, which I really appreciated. So anyways, that's what you're going to be doing this week, is working on that. And I want to just go ahead and pull up the website right here. I usually have it up, but like I said, my voice was syncing weird, so I was trying all of these different things before I got online with you. It happens sometimes, as you've learned in this class and as you have learned in life experience. Technology doesn't always turn out the way you think it's going to turn out when you're working through it. So, just looking at the week 7 bar, just remember that you are focusing on teaching with technology in the flipped classroom. And I have 3 interesting videos that I think you guys will really like on the flipped classroom and why people chose to flip. Okay, and it also talks about what a flipped classroom is not. The discussion board for this week, the prompt is, now that you've nearly completed the course, what did you find as purposeful and or something you can immediately apply in your own educational setting? What were some triumphs and challenges you experienced during your engagement of the various technological tools? And I was really impressed with how you were all willing to try this time. And that when you did have what you perceived as a failure, you got back on and you tried again. And a lot of you contacted me privately and said, I struggled with this, or I had a problem embedding this, or I uploaded this incorrectly. And I was really impressed with how you didn't freak out, you just stressed down, and you tried again, and you were fine. And I think that's the way you have to be with everything in life, but specifically technology. There's always something that can go terribly wrong with technology. As you know, I was out of town for a few days this last week, and I had made sure before I left that all of the Chromebook carts were with the people that they were supposed to be with, and everything was handled, and I went around and I spoke to everybody and made sure, oh, is everybody okay before I leave? And of course, 2 days into me being gone, I got an email, and the email started out with, you'll love this. The email said, I hope you don't read this until after you get back. I just went, why did I even check my email? And of course, there was a bunch of Chromebook drama and problems with the technology, and it happens. And you kind of have to reset, reboot, and try again. And as I've stated before in these videos, teaching technology, teaching students to use educational technology is quite different from Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, those things that are just so fun and oftentimes so quick and easy for them to learn, like gaming. But I have really seen with 11th graders that navigating like digital textbooks and getting off task when there's like a set screen with a story on it, and then there's a scroll screen for a notebook, and then they lose their place when they start moving. Simple things like that end up taking much longer in a classroom than you ever think is going to take. For many of you, you're getting ready to do SBAC testing. And although technology is in a lot of ways advancing the way that we're giving the tests, the problem is that there's an inequity there if students have not been taught how to use the equipment before they go into testing. And I'm sure you have seen that. So that's an easy way. Working on things like that is an easy way to bring technology into your classroom by either using carts or computer labs, just to be able to teach kids how to navigate before they even get on to a testing screen. So just some things to think about, with the technology. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about what was purposeful to you. I did find that a lot of you really enjoyed the educational blog lesson and found blogs that you thought would help you with technology in your classroom immediately. And I was quite impressed with that and some of the things that you stated about your blogs. So you know what you're doing this week. You're watching the videos on the flipped classroom. You've got your discussion board posting. You're working on your assignment number 7, the flipped classroom, which I said is quite easy to do, and I think you'll enjoy it. And contact me if you need me. I'm back now. I'm getting ready to read your discussion boards and double check grades today. And that's about it. So I hope you have a good work week. I hope you enjoy learning about the flipped classroom, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.